is the final battle. They're going after Trump, but if they can get Trump, it means they can get you, they can get me, they can get all of us. He is standing in the way, and that can sound like a campaign slogan, but it's very true.
Now we're approaching the most important battle of our lives.
Now, for the very first time in American history, a sitting president's DOJ has indicted his top political rival ahead of a presidential campaign. When they indicted me for nothing, I said, now the gloves are off. Now we have to say if I can accuse a crook. Ahead of a presidential campaign. When they indicted me.
I can feel it coming in the air tonight. Oh Lord, and I've been waiting for this moment for all my life. Oh Lord, can you feel it coming in the air tonight?
Now we're approaching the most important battle of our lives.
Oh Lord.
If you fuck around with us, if you do something bad to us, we are going to do things to you that have never been done before.
Well, you told me you were drowning, I would not lend a hand. I've seen your face before, my friend, but I don't know if you know who I am. Well, I was there and I saw what you did. I saw it with my own two eyes. So you could wipe off that grin. I know where you've been. It's all been a pack of lies.
If you have a problem with someone, you have to go after them. And it's not necessarily to teach that person a lesson. It's to teach all of the people that are watching a lesson.
The last time we ever met. But I know the reason why you keep your silence.
When we get back in the White House, I will totally obliterate the deep state.
The hurt doesn't show, but the pain
Back in the White House, I will totally obliterate
to you and me.
When we get back power, I don't really want to have peace with these people who did this to us and are continuing to do this to us. We have to turn the tables on them, give them a dose of their own medicine, and then in the playing field, and then we can discuss unity. We have to turn the tables on them, give them a dose of their own medicine, and then
All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Patriot Underground. Today is October 23rd, 2025. Thank you so much for joining me, folks, to discover the truth beneath the surface. As always, I really do appreciate everybody out there taking the time to listen. And tonight, it is my pleasure to bring you guys what I hope is going to be an amazing conversation. I want to welcome my guests that you see on the screen here. Of course, my good friends, Joe and Scott from Truth Stream. It's been about, I don't know, maybe a couple of months since we got together. Always a great conversation. And we also have joining us tonight the next governor of California, the one and only Louis Herms. So I think this is going to be a real treat for everybody out there. We're going to cover the landscape tonight. But before we get into it, let me go ahead and just give my guests an opportunity to say hello to the audience. We'll start with my good friend, Joe. How you doing tonight, brother?
Very good. It's an honor to be here, and we're even going to be having Matt Geiger join us in about an hour or so. And Scott and I have just had an amazing whirlwind tour of Ireland, Spain, and Marrakesh, Morocco, and we couldn't have done it without the amazing people that we've met through doing the show. And we're just kind of beside ourselves. And Louis is definitely one of those people, and so are you, Ben. So it's fabulous to be here, and I'll hand it over to Scott.
Well, I gotta say, I'm super jealous. I haven't been on a trip like that in a very, very, very long time. I've certainly traveled, but having young kids, it's been quite some time since I've been able to hop across the pond and do a trip like that. So maybe you guys can share a little bit about your experiences tonight. So let's go over to Scott. Say hello to everybody, my good friend. How are you doing?
Yeah, great to be here. Great to see you, Louis. Super excited. I keep hearing about more buzz about your campaign. I'm real excited. Yeah, the trip was amazing. Do you think you could travel with your kids? Because we might need to do a truther retreat.
Well, I mean, I never say never. I never say never. But
okay, all
right.
right.
Like 10 and 7, and they're in school, so it makes traveling quite a challenge. But I certainly would consider any opportunity to get to meet you guys. Matter of fact, I really haven't met anybody in person that I've worked with, which is kind of strange at this point. You know, I'm like 4+ years into doing this, and I've made a lot of really great friends. I've just never had the opportunity to meet in person, but I know that day is coming, and I'm looking forward to it.
Well, we've been talking about being in the Boston area for St. Patty's Day for a long time. So I don't know if that's in the works for this year, but
if you guys can get out to Boston, I will absolutely meet you for sure.
Yeah, we got real close with our filmmaker friend Johnny Hickey years ago, and then he moved to LA. So, you know, but I just that Boston experience. I don't know if it is today what it used to be. Probably not. The country's not what it used to be, but it will be soon. I think. I'm feeling just a massive wave of change in all the right directions, and I couldn't be more positive.
Awesome.
Despite a little destruction along the way, that's part and parcel for remaking the world or correcting the world. But yeah, I think we're in for good times here real soon.
Absolutely. Well said.
I think we're in good times, actually.
We are. We got to go through some bumpy patches, I'm sure, before it's all said and done. But no doubt we are in an amazing time right now, and things are accelerating on all fronts. We're going to talk about various different subjects tonight. And folks know, especially when I get together with Joe and Scott, we kind of, we just go with the flow. We go with wherever the conversation leads, and it always ends up being fascinating. So I'm really looking forward to it. It's great to see you guys again. So let's say hi to the next governor of California, the one and only Louis Herms. This is actually the first time I've been able to have the honor of welcoming Louis onto my platform. I actually met him on Mark's platform on Respect. I think that was a few months back.
Oh, right.
Great conversation, and Louis and I have been keeping in touch. So it's wonderful to have you here. How you doing tonight, Louis?
Awesome to be here with you and the two Anunnaki below on the screen. So when you meet him in person, I just wanted to give you that forewarning. It's fabulous to be here. I think things are really looking up. I think virtually everything that we see that seems to be destructive is the changing of from the old guard to the new guard. And it's right. Very clear to me that they being the baddies have already know they've lost. So they're just doing as much damage on the way out as they possibly can.
Yeah, well said. Well said. Absolutely. But you got the art of war there behind you. We already know what the outcome is. You don't go to war unless you've already won. That's and right. Indeed we have. But part of this whole process is bringing the entirety of the country really up to speed and unifying people around this knowledge that we've been front loaded with for years now. But it's very important that the public be put through these simulations on various different fronts to see the evil, because obviously we can't tell anybody anything. We all learned that lesson, I think, probably long before we ever started doing podcasting. You can't tell people anything. They have to see it. They have to experience it. And that's ultimately where we're at right now. But things are accelerating on absolutely every front as far as I'm concerned. So, there's a lot going on. And as per usual, we're seeing developments on all the different fronts of the war, the domestic front, financial theater, the geopolitical front. And we can talk about various different ones. In my opinion, we're getting very clear indicators that we're rapidly approaching a boiling point, one which all of us have long anticipated. We're not here to establish any expectations or timelines. We don't get into that type of speculation, but we can read the tea leaves. And when you look at the landscape, it's pretty exciting to see all the different fronts moving so rapidly in the direction that we always knew we were headed, but certainly we've been through some peaks and valleys along the way. So I thought to begin our conversation tonight, we could talk a little bit about the big picture. I wanted to give each of you an opportunity to just share your perspective from the 40,000 foot view of how you see things progressing. I mean, here we are, we're at the end of October 2025. It's absolutely amazing. And hopefully that will lay the foundation for our discussion tonight. So, Scott, do you want to lead off? Kind of give us your thoughts on the big picture and, some of the stuff that you've been seeing lately, what your focus is?
Sure. Well, from kind of a Q perspective, there's some pieces on the board that we haven't seen come to fruition yet. Some of all fears being a big one, indicating a broken arrow. Saving Israel for last. Right now, what I'm watching is like sort of a collapse of support for Trump because of his capitulation to Israel, which I think is entirely theater.
Yeah.
Or maybe not theater, but I think necessary. There's also the scare event that, and I'm not like a big adherent to the Q drops. I don't have, I don't follow it like, Dave and Mark and, some of these folks so closely, but, big picture wise, I think looking at what's left, following the Charlie Kirk assassination and all the little breadcrumbs, it's pretty obvious that it implicates Mossad. It implicates Israel. There's a lot of little details there that we'll leave for the rest of the conversation, but I think we're dealing with rogue nukes. I think we're dealing with there are 8 nuclear triggers that have been missing for some time now. I got the details of that from Chaim Harlow, and his information is impeccable. And it heavily implicates Mossad. People don't really know the history of how Israel became nuclear capable. And again, that's another story, but it's one you should look into. But overall, I think that this is the sum of all fears. The reason Trump did such a reversal with Israel, I think, is due to a threat. And I think that threat, remember, we've all heard about the 15 cities. When you've got millions of lives at stake, you're gonna toe the line until you can locate the threat and deal with it. And I think that's the theater we're in right now. So
kind of like a replay of what's already occurred. They're putting, or do you think this is like organically playing out as we speak?
Well, this may have already been dealt with, and we're dealing with a theater now, so that people can grok and understand this, which I think is important. Because, again, if the hearts and minds of the people aren't invested in this and don't understand it, we're going to be right back where we started in 20 years. Like what happened in,
agree more.
With the independence of this country. How long did it take before we were, subject to Great Britain again and those that control Great Britain? So, this has to be lasting and has to be permanent, or it just doesn't count. And I really think that's where we're at right now. I think the big reveal is coming. I think it is going to be the reveal of that threat. And, Charlie Kirk and the turning point, his assassination, and the turning point was the beginning of that. And I think I think we're about to hear about those nukes after they've been neutralized, because certainly we can't hear about it before. The scare event, who knows? Maybe something awful will happen. I certainly hope not, but that may be part of this presentation we're watching. I don't know. Maybe it'll be narrowly averted, but everyone will fear for their lives, because I think that's part of it. We need to have people invested emotionally in this. And, like Reagan said a while ago, if we had, foreign invaders come in or whatever, where we would all come together. Well, maybe Israel right now represents that. Maybe a nuclear threat that threatened millions of people, and we narrowly escaped the threat. Maybe that is that element that will be the unifying moment. There are some people that I think we've just completely lost. The left is kind of a madhouse, and they're victim to a lot of psyops. But I think we're there, and I think we're coming to a close on this real quick. End of October, certainly by the end of the year. And I think there was a tweet by Trump, something about 2026, everyone will know the truth. So between now and then, things are going to heat up extraordinarily, and then I think we're going to get resolution, and then we'll see the revelation of all the 6,500 patents, 0 point energy. A new financial system that I think is already in play. We call it the QFS. It's all coming together. I mean,
well said.
That's where I'm at.
Well said, my friend. Absolutely. And we can talk. You laid the table nicely there. A lot of different topics we could get into. The whole idea of whether or not we're watching a scripted movie. Of course, people have different perspectives on that. Obviously, my audience knows where I stand. You guys know where I stand on that. I believe that we're being put through a simulation, ultimately, of the precipice. When you lay out the scenario that you just did, and you think about it from a logical standpoint, it would be far too dangerous for the white hats to actually organically bring us to that precipice moment where there was the real threat of nuclear war. I believe, first of all, that that threat was neutralized long ago. But I am in agreement with you that we're building up toward that moment, that scare event. And it's going to be, at least in my view, it's going to be multi-pronged. I think I describe the war as having three different theaters, like the geopolitical theater, which basically you just described there, scare event, coming from that angle, and then also the financial, and then right here at home, domestically, of course, we're building up to the Insurrection Act, is what it looks like. Those are where the optics are taking us. So, but you absolutely nailed it. This really is about the hearts and minds of the people. That really is the battlefield right now.
I want to interject something I left out. This demolition of the East Wing. Do you think it might reveal the existence of tunnels? Do you think that might be a perfect opener for, like, oh my God, look what we found?
Yep.
It certainly could be.
And it's getting lots of press. The left is playing right into how outrageous it is that that's our house. Well, here we go.
Very good point.
Yeah. And as far as Israel is concerned, I don't know if you guys, I was talking to Joe about this, but the annexation of the West Bank is looking more and more like it could be a hard pivot point for the Trump administration to separate and break all ties with Israel. There's actually a short little clip here from J.D. Vance that I can play in just a moment. I want to give everybody opportunity just to kind of, open things up. But Trump made it very clear that he's not going to allow Israel to annex the West Bank. And while J.D. Vance was visiting Israel, they held a vote in the Knesset, the same place where Trump just recently gave a speech celebrating this historic peace deal, quote unquote. And they basically voted to annex the West Bank. And Trump responded, J.D. Vance responded, saying that he thought it was a really bad publicity stunt or something along those lines, and he was really insulted by it. And Trump followed that up by once again reiterating that if they go in that direction, they're going to lose all U.S. support. And I've been wondering about that. We can get into the topic of Israel. I know Lewis has a lot to share on that front as well, what that pivot point is going to be. So that was great, Scott. Thank you so much for giving us a whole bunch of topics to work with. Let's go over to Joe, and then we'll work our way around to Lewis, and then we'll see where we go from there.
Well, perfect. I love reading the comments, of course, when we're doing shows like this. And the first one I want to acknowledge is from our dear friend Manifesting Marin. And it says, and she's known as Spiritual War Room in the chat. victorious warriors win first and then go to war, while defeated warriors go to war first and then seek to win. Which, you know, I'm in a space where I feel what we're watching is primarily theater. But like, for example, let's look at the EBT and the food stamp thing going on. There's many people that are very upset. Well, if someone's been living off the dole for decades and they become lazy, well, then, you know, it's going to be very challenging for them to switch gears because they're just used to certain things. And I was just watching And We Know, and it was towards the end of the show today. And there's one woman for the first time in 15 years that is doing community service, because that's how she keeps her EBT coming in. And then she'll eventually have to get a job. But the point of one of the other videos on the show was that, you know, God rewards those who are working. He doesn't reward laziness. So, you know, not that every job is a great paying job, but if you can be motivated to do something to help your fellow mankind and get off the couch and not just expect handouts, I think that's a big part of what we're watching. And then there's another comment on here, and I'll just read it. Are you guys for real? We're in good times. WTF, inflation is out of control. Gas in Detroit is $3.49. Milk is $5. Bacon's $8. Nothing has changed. Trump's kissing Israel's ass. Ben Gurion Canal Project. Well, I just think it does make me wonder. Now, obviously, certain prices are what people are paying, but I think there's just a lot of things going on behind the scenes. And we've talked about this with Dave and Mark, that everyone has to have their own aha moment to realize that there's something that is, you know, a lie, whether it's maybe like the No Kings event, and then they're showing millions or hundreds of thousands of people in Boston, and then, you know, and then you look at maybe the actual footage, which I haven't even seen. I don't even know what the actual footage is right now. But, you know, someone that was at that event, they might even be thinking, wait a second, I was there and it wasn't the turnout that the news is portraying, which may be great in the short term for them. But if they start thinking about it, they might start going, okay, well, why did they portray it as much larger than it was? So there's yet like another angle to wake people up. So I just see this as such a multi-tiered, 5D chess of what's going on, that, I mean, I feel that there absolutely is a plan. And obviously there's real effects that are happening as this rolls out. But I'm pretty confident that things are going exactly how they're supposed to be going. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, things don't change when people are comfortable. You know, I mean,
yeah.
Do you get your ass off the couch when you're comfortable? No. You get your ass off the couch when there's a threat. And right now we're looking at a lot of threats, and that's exactly what we need right now. So
that's the whole
that's
point.
what I mean by we're in good times. You know, we had good times in what, 1776, Lewis?
You're up, Lewis.
Oh, he's muted.
Oh,
No,
you're
I was
muted.
messing with Scott. I'm not muted.
Thanks. Appreciate that.
So I think it's fascinating. It's very, very clear to me that we're dealing with the art of war. And I want to give kind of a micro illustration from 40-foot view, and then I'll give a 40,000-foot view from that. So the 40-foot view is this. Nobody was talking about Epstein whatsoever until a reporter asked about it, and President Trump made a big deal about it. He shut down Pam Bondi, and then he made a big, huge post about it, which drew all the attention to Epstein. Now, it doesn't matter if you're a Trump hater, you have TDS or anything. He's not a stupid man, right? That was highly calculated to bring attention to Epstein, not to bring attention away from Epstein. That is clinical art of war. That's the art of war right there. That's the way the art of war works. And then we want to bring it into, and many people have seen this, and I've written about it for about 2.5 years, whatever. There's something I call the Trojan horse theory that I think that President Trump is playing with Israel. So I want to unpack that a little bit here. And I hope this resonates with people, that I get it. You're upset. You got $3.45 gas. I'm in California. We're happy to get $5.45 gas. right now. So I get it. But I'm sorry, last time I checked, when President Trump came into office, there were 2 major wars going on. Now it looks like both of those are coming to an end. That's pretty huge in itself. But let's look at the Trojan horse theory. So Trump admittedly has put a lot of Zionists into his cabinet. He's very cozy publicly with Israel. But let's think about this. Imagine this is a Trojan horse. So what you're doing is you're giving a gift to the enemy, and inside the gift is really your troops that are going to take down the city within. This is what I think is going on with President Trump, because while he's cozying up to Israel and the Zionist regime and putting Zionist in his cabinet, and pretty much, in my opinion, working with the Khazarian mafia, so it appears, right? What is he doing? Got rid of the Department of Education. The Department of Education, I believe, is a Mossad type operation. He's going to, clearly it looks like he's going to be taking down the central bank and the Federal Reserve. I actually think the Federal Reserve's been absolved a while ago, and that's kind of a false fictional model that we're seeing. RFK Jr. is going after big pharma, heavily Zionist organizations through big pharma. All of the banking systems. Hollywood is just dismantling at the seams over the last couple years, right? You're hard pressed to find any of these people anymore. And I can go on and on and on and on. All of those are organizations that are fake Jewish organizations. They're run by fake Jews, not real Jews, people that pretend to be Jews under the cover so they could do dastardly deeds. In fact, if I were Jewish, I'd be pissed at them because they're really making them look bad. So what's happening, in my opinion, while he's cozying up to Israel, he's dismantling the complete infrastructure and the foundation right under him. But you know what nobody can say to President Trump out loud right now? Nobody can scream anti-Semite.
Exactly. Yep.
It's brilliant. It's just absolutely brilliant. And I saw this happening a few years ago when I saw him go into a different direction. I said, he's creating a Trojan horse. And it must be true because I just got the God bumps. So, so this is what I think is going on. And I think that's a perfect example of it, right? But he's already deported 500,000. There's going to be a lot more deported from that, right? Now, I'm a realist, and I'm dealing in the child and human trafficking realm. And I can tell you there's still kids that are suffering, right? So there's a lot of work to be done there. But I'm also getting reports that this pedophile was arrested, and this pedophile was arrested, and this human trafficker, and this person in government has been taken into custody, and so on and so forth. This one is compromised to the good to tell on the others. So there's a lot of it going on right now, but it's messy. And we have to remember one thing. And in remembrance of Boone Cutler, we are in 5G warfare right now, but we have to remember 5G warfare isn't just from one side. It's from both. You cannot fight 5G warfare without doing 5G warfare. That's just the way it works. So there's going to be a lot of confusion, and there's going to be a lot of hurt feelings, and there's got to be a lot of pain to go through. But Scott said one of my favorite things, and I say this virtually daily. Nobody had massive growth without being uncomfortable, right? The reality is, if President Trump came in on his white Pegasus with rainbows flying out of its ass and took care of everything for us, we'd be right back here in a couple of years.
Yeah.
Right. We need to be vested in the process, we being we the people. And I will say this as somebody that's been really hard on the people over the last 5 years. I've been calling them out. I will say over the last few months, I've seen more people step up and willing to have these conversations than I have in the past 5 years combined. So I'm very excited about the future. And I'm a math guy, and that means that we've probably reached the momentum phase, and that's why it's going to go very quick now.
Right. I want to interject on. So Scott and I are up in the Northwest, and we've watched Brandy Cruz, who, I'd watch the things she's saying. I have a little bit of a relationship with her just via emails. And I was trying to let her know certain things going on, and she didn't respond all that much. And but recently she's been making national news, basically saying that for 8 years she had TDS, and she's come around from that. And she posted this video, and I think she took it down because I tried to find it. She got up one morning, she had no makeup on, and she was just giving a comment on the No Kings events, I think. And at the end, she just basically said, you know what? I guess this means that I'm realizing that I have to run for governor. I now have to run for governor of Washington. And she took it down, so I don't know where she's at on that, but it's because she's been so uncomfortable and she's watching all this crap. And that's the perfect example of what we're talking about right now. I mean, I don't think there's things that Scott and I would have done or Ben would have done, any of us really, if we didn't get as uncomfortable. It's pulled things out of us that we may have thought were there. But when you're really, the beauty of this is it's like it's a real test at the same time. And so, and Lewis is a perfect example. Unless things got as uncomfortable as they have, and we're as drawn out as they are, I don't think Lewis may have realized that he was going to be running for governor of California, but he realizes that he has to, right?
Can you just see that moment? Lewis just like, God, I would do anything to fix this. Oh, fuck. I got to run for governor.
Yeah. It was very interesting for sure.
Did it happen kind of like that, Lewis?
The way it happened, it was fascinating. So, I wanted. Okay, so I already knew that because of the way the establishment works, that the Democrats running were already compromised. We know that.
Oh yeah.
And then I've been saying many years that at least 80% of Republicans are compromised, right? And that it's on purpose. So there's a very small percentage that's not, unless we talk about the ones that capitulated, but that's a whole nother story. I'm talking about in the zeitgeist, right? So what happened is I'm starting to look at all the Republicans and I said, okay, who can I support? And I have to be frank, there's a few of them that are very, very nice guys, and they're well-intended and so on and so forth. But consistently, I didn't see people exposing child trafficking, election fraud, or the medical mafia. And I'm dumbfounded. I just couldn't believe it. So I said, God, what am I supposed to do? And I thought the answer would be, as it has been for the last few years, go on tour, wake everybody up, and write a documentary, right? But it was crickets. I heard nothing. Okay. So I go to sleep in the middle of the night. I get the message, you're running for governor. And I'm like, okay, this is Satan talking. God would not be telling me this, right? And it's like, I argued a little bit. It's like, no, you're running for governor. Like, wow, what does that look like? And then that's when the real battle ahead was convincing my wife. After that, and she's never said these two words to me ever. And she goes, honey, I'm a hard no. And I get it. You know what I mean? Because we've already been through a lot running with Screw Big Gov and what we do. But she's in full support now, and here we are today. But Joe and Scott, you're right. If I would never have considered this. By the way, I can't stand politics. It's disgusting. You don't know how many people say I should do this and I should do this. Why don't you have a campaign manager? Because I don't need to pay somebody to tell me how to manipulate language. I would rather just be authentic, right? What a crazy concept, right? So this is for me and not for me. It's for me because I'm just going to be transparent, authentic, right? It's not for me because I don't like the game, but I do understand the war, and I pride myself in understanding the enemy, and I think that gives me a leg up.
Well said.
Well said. Absolutely. And of course, listening to you guys talk, of course, it brought me back to really one of the most important cue drops of all that I've always come back to over and over again. Only at the precipice, the moment of destruction, will people find the will to change. And we have to remember that all of us, the four of us, and indeed probably most of the people out there watching this show, woke up a long time ago. And we kind of had our own precipice moment. And I know Joe and Scott, we've had this discussion before. Primarily, it had to do with child trafficking and being introduced to those evils. But we also have to keep in mind that this whole process that we're going through right now, it's been said so many different ways, but this movie, this simulation, call it what you will, it's not intended for the people who are already awake. And that's the thing that we have to keep in mind. And it's totally understandable, the comment that you read, Joe, from somebody out there in the audience. We all have days like that. We wake up and we're frustrated. We get disillusioned at times. We get even cynical at times and question things. That's okay. But understanding that everything that we're witnessing right now is designed to do exactly that on various different fronts, like Scott was laying out in the beginning, is to bring us to that precipice moment, not just us, but the entirety of the population. And what wakes up one person is going to have no effect on somebody else. As horrible as it is to say, I mean, some people, when they might be introduced to the horrors of human trafficking, they might go, well, that's really bad, but that may not prompt them to actually take action. And for some people, it's going to be being not having access to their money. For other people, it might be, massive hordes of illegals trying to take down their city in a Bolshevik style revolution. I mean, there's so many different elements to this. That's why I believe that we're seeing all of these different storylines. We're beginning to get to the stage now where everything is rapidly kind of converging all at once. And I share your optimism, Scott. I certainly think that we're going to be getting into some very interesting times over the next few months. Again, I don't want to set any false expectations for folks, because we've been down that road before where we've thought things were about to burst. The dam was about to break, and then what the white hats typically do is, like, they do these rug pulls, but it's for a reason. They put things on the front burner, then they take them off, and then they introduce us to something else. And then that other thing that they put back on the back burner comes back around again. It's all being done strategically to introduce everybody, the general public out there, to these evils gradually, to dip their toe in so it's not too much too quickly. It's basically taking the principle of problem, reaction, solution, but in a sense, controlling the reaction part. Like the way that the deep state would do it was they would run a false flag, they'd create the problem, and then they would feed into that massive reaction and get everybody all riled up so that they could then introduce their solution so that everybody would be functioning on pure emotion. Whereas the white hats, I think, are doing just the opposite. They're allowing people to gradually be introduced to these evils and these horrors, but in a way that's going to continue to keep society moving forward and running. And the other thing we have to remember is that as difficult as this process has been for all of us to go through, the reality of the matter is, imagine if the white hats weren't there. Imagine if Trump hadn't come along. Imagine what we would be facing right now if Hillary had won. It was made quite clear in the Q drops, the road that the military was prepared to go down in order to save this republic. So even though it's an uncomfortable process, we have to that's why I always like to start with the 40,000-foot view and always approach my analysis from that perspective and look at the overall trajectory of the operation and what are the true objectives. And that way it's a lot easier to kind of see through, like they say, like, don't get caught up in the weeds to the extent that, that you miss the big picture. So very well said, gentlemen.
If I could respond just to, I mean, you mentioned the Hegelian dialectic there, the, problem, reaction, solution. And, we've always had consistently, at least through my lifetime, we've always had, the introduction of a crisis, the simulation of, some sort of resolution that's presented, and it always involves a compromise. And that's how everything's been eroded over time. Yep. And the one thing that really distinguished Trump over anything I'd ever seen in my lifetime, and I know, there's a lot of critics, especially now, but they had everybody by the balls, whether it was Obama, whether it was the Clintons, whether it was the apathy. Most folks were like, well, there's just nothing we can do about it. I'm powerless against this. I might as well just, go eat worms. Or the folks that did want to do something about it, they'd put faith in either side, and it was a uniparty. Every outcome was going to be the same, and they indulged us with the appropriate amount of theater. And then you get this storm of a man that was the most unlikely candidate ever was. He comes in, And everyone was asking me, well, isn't he just part of this whole Hegelian dialectic? And I thought, no, why would they give up that edge? I mean, they had everybody so anesthetized. Why would you wake everybody up and stir the pot in the way the pot was stirred, just to have to overcome that? Unless that's some, 11D freaking strategy I don't understand. That's what gets me to continue to believe in Trump as the real deal. Now, not as a savior, obviously a flawed man, whatever. If you're looking for a savior, you better go within, because it doesn't exist anywhere else. I believe that firmly. And, for people to have those expectations of any man, that's just premeditated disappointment. But what we've seen play out, in the first term, in the fake Biden term, and then now, I mean, if you're not getting it, you're not paying attention. This is beautiful. It's uncomfortable, like it needs to be, but it's beautiful.
Right. And why would he come out and just say fake news? Like when I really started grasping that, it was like, oh my gosh. I mean, it's such a quick, to the point statement. Like we never even really, I don't even remember really hearing the term before. And then you start looking at everything. And that's the one thing, once, and the beauty of this movement, once someone can finally see one of the lies, well, then they can start looking at many of the other ones. And why would they stop? I mean, if the whole goal of this is for humanity to not realize what our true potential is and what our gifts are, they would stop at nothing to cover that up. And that's why people are beginning to see how many lies there really are. And it really is brilliant. I think the whole fake news statement was dead on. It really had an impact on me. So
it's still the most impactful strategy they've had. I mean, the media still is the number one biggest problem. I mean, this disinformation, and part of it is our own biology used against us. I mean, we're all guilty of confirmation bias. We're all guilty of it. If you say you're not, you're lying to yourself. We all want to confirm what we think we believe. We're not 100% open to everything that we're seeing. We have blinders on. Now, gradually, we're working our way out of that paradigm. And that, I think, is why this has taken so long, is because it wasn't genuine. I mean, everybody kind of flew the flag and, said the things and did the stuff, but what happened in your heart? It doesn't happen until it's really meaningful to you. And I think, again, sometimes a scare event is necessary. Sum of all fears. What are we looking at? I mean, the grid is illuminated. It's time to get real honest with yourself. And we've never been presented with this on a global scale before, ever. I don't think, at least, other than ancient times where our minds were wiped, Tartaria and whatnot. But without getting into the weeds, you see what I'm saying, right, Lewis?
Yeah, Lewis, go ahead.
So one thing I like to look at is, I know there's so many millions of people that are disenfranchised with President Trump right now. But I want you to look at the past. Every time we've had a president, when the public, 'cause they poll constantly, when the public's not feeling it, they adjust their language, they adjust their tone, they adjust their policy to get themselves back up into the polls. That's a game they played, right? The fact that President Trump doesn't do that at all should be an indication of the authenticity and what the plan is. The fact that he's not concerned about, oh, he's not doing it quick enough, so I'm jumping off the Trump bandwagon, or he's on the Epstein flight log, so I'm out of here, or the medical mafia hasn't been taken down fast enough, right? So I'm gone, or he doesn't have enough arrests, so I'm gone. And he's losing a lot of favor right now. Historically, when any politician would lose favor, they would readjust their language and their tact to bring favor up, even if it's not real, from an optic standpoint. The fact that he's not doing that should be exactly why you should support President Trump, because you know he's got a plan, he's sticking to his guns, and it's not important what the polls or the opinions are. The outcome is what's most important.
That's right. And he already knows that outcome. That's the thing.
One of my favorite moments, sorry to interrupt, but one of my favorite moments with this No Kings thing is his tweet. He was just like, I'd like to thank all the No Kings protesters. For a minute there, I thought someone was coming for my job.
Right.
I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but that's brilliant.
He's a master troller. We know that, Trump, that's for sure. But I think the key here is part of the reason. Again, this goes back to the big picture here. What is the ultimate purpose of virtually everything that we're watching right now? It's to create cognitive dissonance. That's really the entire purpose. I mean, how are you going to wake people up if you can't tell them anything and you have to show them things? The things that you show them are intended to cause that cognitive dissonance, because that's the only thing that's going to break down the programming. And the brilliance of the strategy, in the sense that, I mean, what I like to call it is a parallel construction. It's like a lot of what Trump and the White Hats have done is they've created this scenario where a lot of people along the way, and this touches upon what Lewis was just saying, they knew a lot of people along the way were going to get black-pilled. They were going to start, coming up with every excuse. So, oh, this hasn't happened fast enough, or this doesn't really make sense, or that doesn't really make sense. And they're sitting back, and like Lewis said, they're not changing anything. They're not changing their strategy, because ultimately the strategy is working. People are asking questions. And even when Trump comes out and he says things like, Lewis mentioned nobody was paying attention to the Epstein list, right? Until Trump started talking about it and saying that it was all a Democrat hoax. And then it got amplified even more when Elon came out and said that Trump's on the list, right? And it's the same thing. Like Candace Owens just today put out a video, and everybody was all up in arms. I don't know if you guys saw this or heard about it, but basically saying that she believes that Trump was involved with Charlie Kirk's murder, because he decided he was going to create a holiday, a Charlie Kirk Remembrance Day. And, it's the same thing as creating like a street for Charlie Kirk or something. It was something along those lines. It was a really flimsy argument, but obviously the internet just exploded and people got all kinds of pissed off. And, but the point is that, at least in my view, I mean, people can have their own view about Candace Owens. I think that she's a white hat operative, and what she's doing in the same way with what I just described with Epstein, she's bringing attention. As soon as Trump's name gets attached to something, what happens? Everybody starts zooming in. Everybody starts paying attention. Everyone starts investigating and asking questions.
On both sides.
Nobody was doing that with Epstein. Nobody was really doing that outside of a relatively small contingent within the truth community was really even questioning the whole Charlie Kirk narrative.
She's central casting.
Central casting, right? I mean, how many times has Trump said central casting? I mean, over and over and over, right?
Yeah.
But the point I'm making, as the larger point, is like they understand the way that we've been conditioned by the enemy. Not we necessarily, the awakened, but all of the masses, all the normies out there, all the people that they're trying to reach. The White Hats understood the psychology, the way that they've been brainwashed, the way that they consume information, the way that they perceive things to be true or not true. And what they've done is they've created a scenario, a backdrop, if you will, where nothing seems to really make sense. Nothing seems to really add up. And no matter where you are in the political spectrum, no matter what your preferences are, your prejudices are, your preconceived notions about anything, I think everybody out there, whether they're talking about it or they're not talking about it, is scratching their heads in their private moments going, I don't understand what the hell is going on here. Like, this doesn't make sense. And I think that's what they're doing on a worldwide scale, is they're breaking down people's programming, using that cognitive dissonance as a tool to reverse the brainwashing to get people engaged. In the same way that we organically just became engaged by searching for the truth. Most people out there couldn't care less about the truth as long as their lives don't get disturbed. But as soon as their lives get disturbed, and as soon as their brain, things don't really make sense and add up anymore, and it continues to happen day after day, week after week, year after year, people start becoming activated. They start searching for the truth. And that's ultimately what this is all about. And Trump knows that. That's the reason why he's never had to change his strategy. He probably just sits back and laughs and thinks to himself, this is brilliant. This is working exactly the way we wanted it to. And to Lewis's point too about Israel, I mean, it's the same kind of deal. It's like using this, this sort of Trojan horse strategy that's applicable to everything that's going on right now. That was just an absolutely brilliant breakdown there. So, all right, well, now that we've kind of covered the sort of the 40,000 foot view, let's talk a little bit about what's happening on the domestic front. I mean, we've touched upon Israel.
Right.
Folks have kind of given their take on that. But to me, one of the things that I've had my eye on right now is this buildup, what I believe is going to be the buildup to the Insurrection Act. I've made the case many times to my audience that I believe that we're already under the Insurrection Act. We're already under continuity of government, hence the whole scripted movie that we're watching play out right now. Not to suggest that everything is fake. Indeed, there are real elements to it. I don't need to, go on in too much detail as far as that goes. But optically speaking, there seems to be a big buildup. And the tension I mentioned it's rising on all different fronts. But if you just talk about what's happening in the blue cities, you got places like LA that, of course, Lewis can talk about. We've got Chicago, we've got Portland, we've got Boston, we've got San Francisco, we've got Memphis, and the military is gradually being deployed to all of these different places, right? So let's kind of paint a picture of how this is all playing out. We're continuing to see more exposure of the deep state players right alongside some of these key indictments that are undoubtedly going to unravel this web of corruption. And this is a process that's going to continue to intensify as we get deeper into this exposure operation. I mean, we've got Comey now indicted. We've got Bolton. Brennan was referred to the DOJ. These are obviously, these are big fish, but they're going to lead to even bigger fish. And as this legal drama unfolds, I mentioned just a moment ago, the deployment of the National Guard is expanding. Violent crime is being directly confronted by the FBI and the DOJ on the heels of Trump officially designating Antifa as a terrorist organization, which of course opens the door to RICO charges that will be used not only to conduct mass arrests, many of which of course have already taken place. As Trump indicated recently, he was discussing Operation Summer Heat in the Oval Office, and he said, we've already been in a lot of these places. We just kind of kept it quiet. That was a little hat tip, I think, to all of us. But the RICO statutes, more importantly, are going to be used to target the funders of Antifa, like people like Soros, and of course, all of the soft nodes of power, all of the NGOs. It's going to expose the larger agenda of using these front groups to engage in treason and sedition against the United States. And in my opinion, like I said, this is a scripted replay of what's already happened. Q told us in drop, I believe it was drop 4765 or 4766, one of the way back in September of 2020. Q told us that the mapping of this organization of Antifa began a long time ago. And it's mentioned, I think, more than 50 times there are references to Antifa in the drops, which lead me to believe that they're going to play a very important role in the climax of this movie. So we've got the low level minions who are just the useful idiots. And I think that's sort of the organic part of what's happening right now.
Right.
But the higher ups are having their strings pulled by the white hats. They're walking into all the traps the white hats have set for them. And this is all going to play out in the climax of the movie in the not too distant future. So we've got the blue city leaders all positioning themselves against Trump, right? People like Brandon Johnson, people like Gavin Newsom, people like Pritzker, on and on and on, basically urging all of their brainwashed constituents to rise up and to fight back. The optics of which are playing out in the streets more and more every day. We're seeing ICE cars being rammed. We're hearing stories of officers being shot at. And that rhetoric, of course, is being amplified on mainstream media, right? They're putting out this message, basically, essentially functioning as predictive programming that all of these so-called elected officials are saying that that Republicans want a rematch of the Civil War. I mean, we're being bombarded with this right now, clip after clip, all these deranged leftists calling for violence. I mean, it's everywhere, right? Right down from the high profile people right down to the foot soldiers on social media. And, in addition to that, I mean, I could go on and on and on here, but I'll just say a couple more things and then I'll turn to you guys for comment. But we're seeing these ice-free zones being set up. We're seeing just today, I saw a story that they're actually, and I believe this is out of California, Lewis, if I'm not mistaken, they're actually
That it is.
to implement tracking technology apps and websites essentially to dox these officers.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you can comment on that, but I'll just kind of wrap it up here. The increased resistance and the outright attacks on law enforcement are blaring signals, which to me point to a significant escalation. Again, I believe it's all a simulation, but that being said, I don't think that we're too far off at this point. So I want to hear your thoughts, gentlemen, on what's going on here domestically. I mean, there are just so many bullet points, so much information is coming in fast and furious, but I want to get your take.
So in regards to let's say the deep state, they're coming out. The rats are now, the light is shining, and they're talking publicly now. I'll give you a great example. I saw a video today. An LA City Councilwoman in a council meeting with the LA sheriff actually said to the sheriff, "Can we get a pre-warning when ICE is coming in, so we can tell the people that they're about ready to raid us?" This is the LA City Councilwoman.
Wow.
And he's like, Can you repeat that? And she, and he said, "So what you're asking is you want a forewarning of a law enforcement action?" She goes, "Yes." He says, "No, that's not going to happen." She said, "Well, why not?" Right? And he said, because that would be obstruction of justice, and maybe you should talk to the city attorney about that." So, and it's fascinating to watch this play out. I did a film called The Mother of All Lawsuits, probably about 4 years ago. And it was in regards to the lawsuit between Lindell and Dominion. And it hit me when I was reading through that. It's 87 pages. And because I did the film on it, I read it several times. And you know what was prevalent to me? RICO, the Racketeering Influence in Corporate Organizations Act. That was big time. And I ended up doing a short, and I said, watch what's going to happen in the future. Everything is going to be RICO, 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 RICO. Now, the act was established in the 70s, and it wasn't used very well. And then Rudy Giuliani figured out how to use this in a certain way that he can vaguely wrap a bow around these mafiosos. And it was extraordinarily effective. The only thing I think they messed up, which is they didn't predict the second, third, and fourth tier the way they would scatter, and it created a big mess afterwards. But overall, they did a wonderful job in regards to that. This is exactly what we're seeing, in my opinion. I said this 4 years ago. I was crazy then. Now maybe people pay attention a little bit. And I said what we're going to see is the RICO Act is going to be very, very prevalent because it gives a wide swath. Now, I believed I was right then. And when I knew I had it down is when they started going after Rudy Giuliani. Recently, in the last few years. I said, that's why. Because they know he will be consulting President Trump on how to use this properly. Now, we all know that they all had it figured out ahead of time. But so they needed to demonize him and make him the bad guy and put him through as much hell as possible, hopefully die in prison. That's the way the parasites think. The RICO Act is so important, guys. I don't think it could be overstated. It is exactly how they're going to capture all the baddies. And I mean all the baddies. And if anybody doesn't know about it, just go read RICO and what the ramifications of it are. But don't read what it was in the 70s. Read the reinterpretation of how Giuliani and his team through the 80s used it, because it was brilliant. And then you'll go, oh, that can be applied today. And then if you connect it, the Nuremberg Code, it makes it even more powerful.
Well, yeah. Lewis, so if you go back to 2016 and a half, I would say, and just to set the stage, I think prior to that, the number of sealed indictments, federal indictments in this country, I think the record was 1,700. In 2016 and a half, how many sealed federal indictments were there?
I think there was over 200,000, if I remember properly.
Yeah, it was over 300,000. That number's continued to grow and
So
grow
600 now.
and grow. Exactly. Yeah, 600,000 sealed federal indictments. If that doesn't scream RICO, I don't know what does. This has been building for a decade, an absolute decade. I mean, where is it going? When is this gonna crescendo? Because holy cow, everyone's like, when are the arrests gonna happen? When are the arrests gonna happen?
Yeah.
Well, understand how a RICO case works. The first arrest is gonna alert all the rats. They're gonna scurry, they're gonna run. Right now, they're just giving it up. They're vocal. They're admitting to their alliances and affiliations and everything else. I mean, they're just feeding the case openly. You know, why would you ever put a halt to that by making an arrest? This is going to happen overnight. This is going to be, I don't know, what movie did that happen in? Godfather 3?
Right.
Which was referenced in the drops, by the way.
That's my point. That's my point. Everybody goes down at the same time. It's what we're about to see.
Right.
And nobody wants to rush that because
you don't want to rush that. No, because you need it done right. But Scott, let me tag onto that, and this is going to help a lot of people here. Many people don't know. Let me just give you kind of a copious look at RICO really quick. Virtually anything that's fraud can be connected to RICO. That's right. Think about that. Anything that's fraud can be connected to RICO. And there's actually attorneys now, I know a few, that are using RICO in civil cases. Why is that important? You can use RICO implications in civil cases, and guess what? You prove that they violated RICO, that civil case automatically can be transferred to a criminal case like that, with everything already laid out on a platter for you. This is so much bigger, so much deeper than people could possibly imagine. And I'm so glad you brought up RICO, because I personally believe RICO will save this country and save the world.
You brought up RICO.
Well,
I responded to it.
I think I mentioned it there when I was trying to.
I think Ben's the first one that mentioned it. I'm not smart enough to come up with these things on my own.
Come on now.
I have to be prompted, Scott.
No,
Ben was my cue card.
I've been talking about RICO for a long time as well. Probably not as long as you, Lewis, but absolutely. Now, here's an interesting question, and I'm curious to get your perspective on this, because we were told that to think logically, the only way is the military. We just talked about the fact that we've got north of 600,000 sealed indictments. And on those indictments, my understanding is that they can list up to 99 defendants in one indictment. So you're talking about potentially millions and millions of people. Do we really think that this is all going to go through the civilian system? Or are we anticipating a moment where we have a transition into military jurisdiction and tribunals? I know where I stand on that. I've made it very clear to my audience, but I'm very curious to what you guys think.
I think it's obvious.
Let me go short really quick, and I'll turn it over to you guys. I think it's already done.
Well, I agree. I mean, in terms of the optics.
The military tribunals, I think, have been way ahead of us. I love saying January 20th, 2017, with a military contingent behind him, he did what? He showed us and gave it back to we the people, right? Yep. So a lot of this is optics. I mean, can a person running for governor say that? Yeah, because I don't give a damn. Because the reality is we're all going to be proven.
That's why you're going to win.
Yeah, we're going to be proven correct in the long run anyways. I don't want to play the game. I do, and I've said this for years, so they can always find the tape and get me anyways. I think we not only were in a continuity of government, I think there was a time that we were running two governments parallel to each other that were in battle. I agree.
I agree. And I personally think that came to an end on January 6, 2021, when Trump actually invoked the Insurrection Act. I'm sure you guys have all seen the video that they took down off of YouTube, where he told everybody that they have to go home, back to their dwelling. He gave them a time frame. He said that we have to have peace. He laid it out multiple times in exact accordance with the letter of the law. And they knew exactly what that was, and they took it down. But I agree with you there. But
I have a great story behind that, by the way, but I'll save it to him when we get a moment.
Oh, well, Lewis, just to remind people, you know, the COG was set up. I mean, it was a rather terrifying proposal because it made you know, just the wrong kind of people salivate, because immediately all rights would be suspended and 12 people would be in control of the government indefinitely. That was how the original COG was set up. What we saw was a preemptive COG in order to avoid that eventuality. They would have exercised it long ago, probably 2017, 2018, had it not already been in effect. I mean, you know, was it declared officially? No. Are we all in the dark on it? Yes. Are we in COG now? You'd have to assume so, yes, because otherwise 12 tyrants would be running the country and by extension running the world, which I think is technically a throwback to how we've been operating for a much longer time.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was just curious in a sense, but I'm glad that Lewis made that point to say, well, you know, it's already been done. All right, I think we're all in agreement that what we're watching primarily is a role playing, a sort of a scripted role play of what already happened. But whether or not they're actually going to do to end up having military tribunals for the public, for all the normies, right? That's a separate question, right? So what do you think?
And I want to just jump in here. Just because I say much of it has been done, right? I believe it's more of when they say it's he's playing 5D chess and he's in control. I believe we are in control of the chessboard. That doesn't mean game over, though, right? There's a lot of pieces that can be moved, a lot of pawns can be taken off, other things can be taken out, but you're gonna win.
Right, I agree.
And out of respect for the people that are still suffering, and the children that are suffering, and people having their children stolen by CPS and going through a lot, right? That's real. But the overall game is just about done. And then because here's the difference. Anything that's successful generally works from the bottom up. Unfortunately, President Trump had to do this from the top down. And I believe that his first arrests were probably the leaders of the 13 families, and then went from there and down and down and down and down and down and down. Publicly, it looks the opposite because it has to have that type of optics. Right. So are there people in pain? Yes. Are there still children being raped? 100%. Right. And so I don't want to jump off like, oh, it's all done out of disrespect for them. What we're saying is the main players have been taken off the board, in my opinion. And now it's the hardest part. Same thing with Giuliani went through. It's the cleanup phase. And the cleanup phase is the hardest because you have people vying for positions. You still have baddies trying to jump in because there's a vacuum. And they're trying to fill the vacuum. So now the cockroaches come to light. You have to stamp on another one and stamp on another one. So both can be true at the same time. They're not symbiotically exclusive.
But we have to highlight the role of the intelligence agencies in this, and we'll start with the Five Eyes, right? These are extra constitutional entities. The CIA, I mean, we know how JFK felt about the CIA. He wanted to scatter it into a million pieces and throw it into the wind. Probably what got him killed, that and a number of other things, all at the same time.
Demona.
But you cannot separate, especially in recent years, the CIA from the Mossad. And in part, a big part of that was, Ghislaine Maxwell, son of Robert Maxwell, who is an Israeli hero and unofficially a Mossad agent and hero of Israel. These sisters authored the software that is widely used by all these intelligence agencies across the Five Eyes and then some, including Pakistan and whatnot. Don't think they didn't build in a back door. So if you've got two brain cells to rub together, you know that there isn't anything in the world that Mossad is not aware of, right? That's why they were never questioned on their nuclear program. That's why they're not questioned on the 8 nuclear triggers that are missing. That's why we don't ask questions about these 80 suitcase nukes that are missing. That's why this isn't part of the public discourse. It has everything to do with these extra constitutional agencies, and they subverted the government. They've run it ever since then. We operate as a country on the premise of representative government. But how can you have a representative government if most of the members of Congress have dual citizenship with another country, that country being Israel? That is not representative government. That is extra constitutional. The whole thing is a sham. This is a pretty big challenge for anybody that wants to come in and take this on. They had won this war. They had absolutely won this war. Good thing, there was a contingency. And I believe we're at the apex of that right now. And it is a very dangerous game because they're self-funding and they answer to no one. And they operate not as separate entities, but as one hand, five eyes.
Yeah, I think you can add MI6 to that and MI5.
Oh no, they're very, very much a part of the 5.
Yeah, I believe, and here's what's really sad. I think there was a time where MI5, MI6, CIA, FBI, and Mossad were all answering to the same entity, and they were their own state in essence.
Still are,
in my opinion, and that's being broken up as we speak, which is fascinating and wonderful all at the same time.
Fingers crossed. Yeah.
Well, Lewis, you just made a great point about the hybrid nature of the movie. And that's something that, I mean, I've made that same explanation to my audience so many times that it almost gets to a point where I forget to even, bring up that distinction, right? That there is a hybrid element to what's going on here. And it's very, that's what's so complex about navigating fifth generational warfare, because your first, and once you get a handle on the way that the war is being fought, your first impulse, generally speaking, is that most of what you're witnessing is a psyop of some kind, especially the big events that get lots of attention and, that are designed to do exactly that, which is to, put people through these reverse psyops. However, it's totally wildly unrealistic to think that the white hats and the military, even this worldwide force that's operating in this shadow war, can prevent any and all acts of evil from being perpetrated. They can't be everywhere all at once. And what you just talked about is absolutely spot on. The way that this war was fought, the optics are the complete opposite of the reality of how these families were taken down, how the cabal was taken down. They started at the top of the pyramid. They did all of these things covertly, while most people had absolutely no idea what was going on. People, some of the early followers of the Q drops, perhaps people who were really dialed in at that point. But at that phase, they were taking down the 13 families and working their way down. I believe that on January 6th was one of the key markers where they took down the mid-level players, the people in the government, for example, like, Congress and, people like Pelosi and Obama and Hillary and on, who are certainly not the top tier. Right. But we still have these low level people, like you described it as being the cleanup operation, because there are literally millions and millions of these low level minions out there who are still running amok and still perpetrating crimes, still, engaging in evil. That's why we're seeing, at least in my opinion, the consistent takedown, the announcement of these takedowns of all these different pedophile rings. Child trafficking rings. This has started. I mean, it's become pretty common in the news. Like every couple of weeks or less, we hear another story about a big pedophile ring that was taken down. You could also say the same thing about what's happening with Venezuela and Colombia and all of these the drug boats. The drugs are still coming into the country. So it's like you have to remember that the low level operatives are the ones who are being targeted right now. My opinion, generally speaking, is that most of them, if not all of them, are in some ways being puppeteered without their knowledge. Like they have people in place who are actually giving them orders, who are leading them into the traps exactly where the white hats want them to go. But that still in all does not mean that everything is just perfect. So when some people hear the movie metaphor or the description of what we're going through as a movie, they immediately kind of have an aversion to that. That's exactly what we're talking about. And what you described as the chessboard, right? They're in the white hats basically are at checkmate at this point, but there still could be a number of different pawns taken off the board. I've also heard the metaphor of like, just imagine you're up in the fourth quarter of a football game. You're up 56-7. You're going to win the game. but that doesn't mean that the other team can't take out a bunch of people and hurt a bunch of people and cause damage to your team on the way out.
In fact, you're likely to give up a couple touchdowns when you're up that far because you're playing prevent defense.
Exactly. Great.
So let me, if I could touch on this, because I've done my best through frustration sometimes to explain the following. And for me, it makes a lot of sense. So I'm hoping it resonates with somebody out there. We have to look at all the agencies we talked about. And then you can add in there the Jesuits, the Catholic Church, the corporate churches. You can add in Masonic organizations and go on and on and on. Military. You know what they all have in common? They are hyper compartmentalized.
Yep.
And why is that important to know? Because if we look at it, if you're taking down one top tier and then the second tier and then the third tier and the fourth tier, believe it or not, each tier doesn't even know what's going on above them. They only get a piece of the information. The reason why it's been so hard to capture these people for so long is they understand compartmentalization is how they win all the time. That's one of the reasons why you can't take them down. They only connect and give you just enough information to keep you as an operative. So the first tier maybe only gives the second tier 50% of information. Second tier gives the third tier 50%, and down and down and down. You can see the attrition of information down 4 levels is astronomical. They're like at 2.5% of the information. They don't have enough to go after the leaders very often. Why is that important? Because when the good guys take down, let's say the heads of the 13 families, the second tier just sees they're just like, there's a vacuum. What's going on? I'm not getting my text messages. I'm not getting my emails. I'm not getting a response. They don't even know what happened. Mm-hmm. So what do? They just start managing from what the information that they have, and they get taken out. And then the next tier gets taken out. And then then you have what I call the cockroach effect, where there's no leadership anymore. So everybody's trying to be a leader in their own right because they want to because they're evil. So they want to maximize the opportunity for the same themselves, and this creates a vacuum. Mm-hmm. This is why it looks so messy. So the compartmentalization is actually worked to their favor, but now, as the art of war, it's been completely turned against them. And it could go, and I think, Ben, you were alluding to this. Let's say tier 1 was taken out. Tier 1 could still be texting, but it's a good guy texting now.
Right.
Sending a message, hey, we need you to do this, or we need you to stand down. We need you to step back for a while because they don't want to hurt anybody, right? They can be being played and they have no idea. The beauty about compartmentalization is the baddies have been able to control everything for a long time. Beautiful for them. The beauty about compartmentalization, now they don't even know what they don't know.
That's right. That's right.
Well, you know what makes compartmentalization especially effective is frame ups and murder. These are messages that are sent that don't make the mainstream in a meaningful way, but you better believe on that tier of compartmentalization, it's very meaningful. People will not step out of line when the people on that tier suddenly have a heart attack, suddenly crash into a telephone pole, mm-hmm. suddenly, whatever it might be. And we've watched it over and over and over again, but it's insulated because, it appears accidental unless you happen to occupy that tier. And if you do, what do? You shut up real fast. You toe the line real quick. And it's worked for a long, long time. There's, solidarity when your life is on the line. That's a pretty rough benchmark to rise to. Most folks won't do it, especially if they have families. Honeypots, the whole bit. And, intelligence is very good at these things.
Mm-hmm.
I had a quick question for Lewis. As far as the RICO and censorship, we just got our YouTube account back, and you've talked about how much both Screw Big Gov and Truth Stream that we haven't been able to grow. Do you see Rico playing a part in the censorship now that we're seeing, I think it was YouTube admitting that they were told to not allow, channels like ours, and do you think that we're still being censored? If you could cover those two, that'd be really helpful.
Yes and yes. So I believe that remember, fraud equals Rico, Rico equals a win for us. So I believe that what these platforms have done is fraudulent for sure. And that's it's going to easily go into Rico and other things. I think it's an easy play. I also believe, and I've said this a lot lately, and of course I'm a weirdo and I'll be a weirdo now, and maybe I'll be right in the future, whatever. I've said this a lot lately. I believe one of the biggest transfer of wealth that we are going to see is from the tech companies and the mainstream media back to we the people, based on the money that we're going to be winning in lawsuits.
I would add Big Pharma to that too.
Yep. And add Big Pharma to that. Exactly. And I think this is what's going to be taking down those industries. They're not going to have enough, where many of them are going to go bankrupt, and they'll have to turn over in order to even survive. They're going to have to turn it over to somebody that maybe is a lot more benevolent. But that's going to be a huge transfer of wealth, in my opinion. And it's all based on fraud and all based on Rico. That's what I believe the future holds for us.
Thank you for that. Ben, as you were going to say.
Well, no, I was just going to just to sort of amplify what Lewis, or underscore what Lewis is saying. When you're talking about Rico, you have to remember who's the overall target here. Well, the target is the cabal, and the cabal has many, many, many different nodes of power, right? Big Pharma, they've got the mainstream media, they've got academia, they've got, I mean, pretty much the banking industry, Wall Street. They're all part of this gigantic cabal. So if you have that, and this is what Lewis, I think, was alluding to before, is that's why Rico is so key, because once they're identified as part of this criminal organization, regardless regardless of what they know or what they don't know, regardless of the compartmentalized factor of it, once it can be proven that you are acting on behalf of, you are functioning in behalf of, and taking orders from the higher ups in this criminal organization, you're subject to Rico charges, and it brings down the entire house. And the reason that I threw in Big Pharma there as well.
I usually do too. Thank you. I appreciate that, because you're 100% right.
Yeah. And big Pharma, I mean, think about it. Where does all of the funding for mainstream media come from? Yep. What are the commercials that you're watching when you're watching mainstream media? It's nonstop pharmaceutical ads. And they just actually changed the RFK. It was maybe a month or so ago, where he came out and said that the new policy is going to be that these Big Pharma, sure, they can go ahead and they can still do their advertisements. A lot of people were kind of pissed off about that. Like, why didn't they just get rid of all of these advertisements? We're one of the only countries where pharmaceutical companies can market their products directly to consumers, aka patients. But they changed it. So now if they're going to run these ads, they have to include all of the side effects. So some of these pharmaceutical ads are going to have to go on for like 4 or 5 minutes, so they can tell you literally all the reasons why you shouldn't take this product.
That's right.
And that in and of itself is going to have first of all, a 30-second spot is like how many millions of dollars on mainstream media anyway. They have to pay multi millions just to convince their target audience ultimately not to take it. That's going to completely kill the revenue stream for mainstream media. It's, right. I mean, the two are connected at the hip. So again, all of their nodes of power are being taken down. It just takes a little bit of time. Again, do I think this has already been done primarily? Yeah, I do. But it just takes a little bit of time to roll this out gradually so that the public understands it. And again, we would love to see everything. We would love to see the hammer just drop all at once. Sure, everybody out there, we've kind of had days where we're just like, why don't they just, especially early on before we started to get into the nuances of fifth generation war, what's really at play here? What are the real objectives? But the reality is that they need to ease the public into all of these things. They can't just, they can't just go out on the mainstream media and drop the hammer, start telling the truth about everything. It takes time for this process to build. But having said that, like I just laid out, we're very much seeing things accelerate in that direction. The fact that Antifa was officially designated as a terrorist organization, and we're seeing all of this military mobilization throughout the country, right alongside with the judicial tyranny. I mean, every step of the way. I mean, every single day we're hearing about another activist judge who's trying to put up a roadblock to the agenda. And by the way, in the process, defying the legal precedent that was set by the Supreme Court back in the summer, where they basically ruled that these judges can't issue these nationwide injunctions. They can't issue these wide-ranging injunctions and just completely impede the lawful orders of the president, and the judges are continuing to do it. So it's like we're seeing more and more. I mean, almost everything I see on mainstream media nowadays, I'm like, more insurrection, more insurrection. I mean, it's just like they're building the case for the American people. And
Right.
Kash Patel came out and he said it. Elon Musk has said it in different ways. Ultimately, well, what Elon said is that ultimately the only court that matters is the court of public opinion. And that just tells you, I mean, to me, that tells you everything you need to know about what you're witnessing right now. It's just all about unifying the people around their common enemy. And Kash Patel also, likewise, he said that they're building a case and they're educating the public. That's what we're witnessing right now. But
Right.
that can only go on for so long before it hits a boiling point. And I think we're rapidly approaching.
Well, real quick, I know Lewis doesn't have too much more time, and I think Matt Geiger might be in the
Oh,
background.
is Matt here?
Wanted to just bring that up. Lewis, how much more time do we have for you? And then I think we're going to go to a small break that Ben and I had discussed earlier before.
I got one question for Lewis while we're on the topic, because you brought up a hell of a point about pharmaceutical funds funding fake media. This was a big priority for Maha. Bobby Kennedy spoke at length that this was a priority. It hasn't happened yet. Lewis, I know you got your finger on the pulse of the Kennedy camp. Where are we at with that? Is that something you see happening soon, or is this something that's really strategic? What's going on with the pharmaceutical funding?
So as you know, we've already been dubbed Super Maha in the way we're approaching the medical mafia and agriculture in California in the food industry. Here's what I will say. I believe in the constitutional republic. I believe in the Constitution. I believe in the Bill of Rights. Strongly believe in the Bill of Rights, right? I do not, you're going to be surprised, I do not think we should outlaw Big Pharma from putting out commercials. Although I do believe that you should make them have to disclose everything, like Ben is saying, and that would be a 4 or 5 minute commercial with 20 seconds of product benefit and another 3 minutes and 40 seconds of why you should not take our product.
Wow.
Why is that important? We do not want to become a dictatorship. That's not what we're about. We want people to be able to decide with what? With the right information, we the people will always make the right decision. We have to understand the way the satanic cabal has run for so long. They indicate information because that's part of their contract, but they never give us the right information, or they surround it in a different type of bubble. So I frankly would much rather see that they must disclose all the bad about their products and be forced to show that if they want to spend the money on that spot. I prefer that. And I know a lot of people, no, we have to remember where we are, right? Ultimately, we want to go back to the way the founding fathers created this country, right? We cannot sacrifice some of our own principles for something to be expedited. We can't do that because it defeats the purpose of what we're doing. So I, for one, would say no, do not make it so they cannot advertise, but yes, they must fully disclose what's going on, and they will self-destruct because they're telling on themselves, which is a lot better.
Yes.
Like, hey, you can still advertise, but you're going to self-destruct. No problem. So again, we're part of the solution, not part of the problem.
Great point.
Well, what about safe and effective? Because they had everybody sold on safe and effective.
That language cannot be used because if you have 527.3 side effects, you cannot label your product safe and effective. And remember, there is something called truth in advertising, right? Which has been completely abandoned for decades. So they will not be able to do that. They'll be held accountable. Now, here's where I detour a little bit. In California, I'm going to do my best to motivate independent organizations to create certifications for food, drugs, businesses, so on and so forth, right? And then we the people will be monitoring this stuff ourselves. And I think it's going to, if good, smart, nice government officials, benevolent ones, start pointing to these organizations, we the people handle everything ourselves. But by the way, nobody should be governing anybody. That phrase alone is disgusting. My friend Michelle Stapley said, "Lewis, you're the guardian." I go, "Gotcha. I agree." And I rolled with that.
I love it. Oh,
Yeah.
I love it.
That's. I want to read a comment real quick that just came through from Soccer Mom 0628. I was watching a Hallmark movie the other night, and the big pharma commercials were so long because everything they had to disclose. It was eye-opening.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's already happening. Yeah. And it is. It's far more effective, as Lewis was saying.
Yeah.
Is
Let them
it
hang
better
themselves.
to let exactly, and that's precisely what they're allowing them to do. The same thing with the mainstream media, right? That behind the scenes, the white hats are giving them the shovel and telling them to dig, and that's pretty much what's playing out right now. All their different nodes of power, they're being forced into this position of self-destruction. But it is far better because then again, it's not a scenario where the government is intervening to tell us what's good for us, what's not good for us, the decisions that we should make. That's the whole purpose of the Great Awakening, is that we start thinking for ourselves, that we're not so easily propagandized.
Exactly right.
And what you had said is spot on in terms of we the people collectively, we will make the right choices. We will forge the right path ahead if we're given all of the information
And the tools.
and the tools to be able to do so. Right. So this is all about, it's like in the drops, it talked about sunlight kills, or sunlight being the best disinfectant, right? That's what they're doing, is they're shining a light on all of these things for us to see, not to just justify them coming in and just unilaterally removing the problem, but showing us the problem so that we, the people, can take the proper action to deal with it. And a lot of this stuff it's very simple. I mean, if people stop, it's like the saying goes, vote with your dollars. If people stop going to their doctors and saying, hey, I want X, Y, and Z drug because I saw it on TV, they're going to lose massive revenue. And the system is ultimately going to collapse on itself. Or they're going to have to radically transform the system to make it more transparent and no longer just a conveyor belt of keeping people sick and unhealthy, and essentially hiding all of the cures that we already know exist.
That's right.
Like the saying goes, a patient cured is a customer lost. That's the system that we have right now. And that's what they're trying to show us so that we can take action to change it. So, Lewis, before you leave us, first of all, I just wanted to say thank you for coming on. It's been an amazing discussion, and certainly wanted to give you the opportunity just to cover anything or leave us with any messages that you want to. Tell us a little bit about what's going on with your campaign. We've talked about a lot of different issues, but I just want to kind of turn it over to you before you have to leave, just to kind of give us any information that you think we need.
I appreciate that. It's very clear to me, and I think a lot of people are starting to see this, that everything is leading towards we the people self-governing. And ultimately, we need to own it. We the people have to step up and say, this is time. You answer to me. Lewis Herms, you answer to me. I'm like, yes, sir. No, sir. Got it. Okay. I'm paying attention. Right. That's true self-governance. Right. So all I am is a conduit for a message or for change. That's it. When anybody running for office realizes that and they actually embrace it and internalize it, we're going to change immediately, because we, the people with the right information, the right tools, as you said, Ben, are highly intelligent. We've got this. We have the resolve. We have everything that's needed. It just needs to be activated. And I believe God has already won this, and it's just we, the people, have to step up, and we're going to reap the harvest. So in regards to the campaign, we are flying. The volunteers are coming in like crazy, which is beautiful. So if anybody wants to volunteer, just go to hermsforcali.com. That would be great. We're up against a monster in regards to finances, but we can manage it on 1/10 of what the top guy has, and we will beat him. Very confident of that. If you can donate, that'd be fantastic. By the way, anywhere in the world, according to California rules, can donate to our campaign, which is awesome.
Okay.
That's at hermsforcali.com. But most importantly, right now, being short-sighted, here's what's cool. November 8th, there's two things that are happening. One is the November 8th debate, which I've been invited on the debate stage. This is with all the Republicans, right? That is going to be very, very exciting. But in the morning, we are holding an absolute mega rally November 8th, which we are very, very excited about. It's going to be huge. When I say we, it's for our campaign. So in the morning, the same morning, we will have, I'm guessing, probably over 1,000 people. We'll probably fill the house. It's free, but we'll have every seat filled. This is going to be an awakening to our campaign that the deep state's not going to be able to recover from. So if anybody was available November 8th in or around, or you want to travel to, we have people traveling out of the town, out of country to go to this event. It's in San Marcos, California, which is near San Diego. It's going to be amazing. It is. What's that?
Carlsbad area.
Right near Carlsbad. Yeah, Escondido, all around there. So we're very excited about this event. We already have commitments from our friend Mark Messina that's going to be there, Mark Abrams, Michael Jaco, Michelle Peterson. We're working on the anti-grooming bill. Kathy O'Brien's a good friend of ours, will be there. Laura Worley. Some dude named Joe Rosati is going to sing, which is great. Mark Z is going to be there. Scott Long, Mary Crowley, Ben Miller, Deepak. Deepak's amazing. If you ever heard him sing, he's going to sing. Scott McKay will be there. Adam B.
Yeah, I'll be there, Louis.
Maybe we'll see. So
Well,
anyway,
is there a website where folks can check out and get?
Yeah, right there on there. It's hermsforcali.com.
Oh, okay, Herms for Cali, great. All
and
right,
just click on events, and then we have Tom Kaz, Jeff Zink, Bruce Poppy, Lance Shuttler, and I was saving the best for last. Scott Stone will be there as well. Ben, I know you have kids. We would love you to be out there though, but you're supporting us anyways, which we highly appreciate. But this is going to be a big event, and just think about the pictures and the video we have, because we're being highly suppressed all throughout the news media. When they see 1,000 people in the audience, they're suddenly going to have to go, oops, I guess we underestimated what's going on over there.
Awesome.
Oh yeah.
Wow, that looks like quite a lineup. That is fantastic. Well, Louis, I have to say it's a great honor to have you on the show. I knew that this was going to be an amazing conversation. I mean, Joe Scott and I, we always chop it up really nicely, but I knew having you as a part of this was going to take it to a whole new level, and indeed it did. So I just want to thank you for coming on, and certainly I'd love to sit down with you again. Maybe you do a one-on-one at some point in the future. I know you're very busy, but that would be great for the benefit of my audience. To just for the two of us to just have an in-depth conversation. So if you're open to that, I certainly would love to have you. And Joe and Scott, we're going to take a quick little break here as we say goodbye to Louis. We're going to watch a little spot about the newest Sorona products. And before Louis leaves, I know he's a big proponent of those as well. Of course, Ethan Lucas's company, Sorona, absolutely amazing. I was just blown away when I tried the elixir. I remember Scott was the one who told me about it, and he was like, man, I'm telling you, this elixir stuff, you can really feel it. And I was skeptical, I mean, I'm always a little skeptical about these types of things, but I took it and I felt an immediate effect. But now he's got the NAD plus, and he's got some other products as well. I don't even know, man. He's had a whole bunch of new ones come out. So we're going to watch this short little clip right here, and then we're going to come back and welcome our good friend, Matt Geiger, onto the show. So Louis, thank you so much, my friend. We'll talk to you soon. God bless. We'll be right back, everybody.
Thanks, Louis.
Love you, Louis.
Bye-bye.
I will never settle for ordinary supplements or skincare ever again after discovering Sorona. Let me tell you why. Sorona's revolutionary nano-sized products are designed to simplify your health and skincare routine, where less is more. Imagine the power of nanoglutathione and nano CBD, as well as stem cells and other nanonutrients in every drop. Take Elixir for a daily boost of vitality, detox, and immunity. Or Panacea, which is perfect for improving cognitive and gut health. And don't forget our Skin Mist and Skin Plus Menet Mask, our skincare duo that leaves your skin shockingly youthful. But why nano-sized? Because smaller particles mean superior absorption and faster results. More bang for your buck and better health for you. But wait, there's more. Serona's affiliate program offers generous payouts and overrides. That means you can earn substantial income just by sharing what you love. Join a community of wellness enthusiasts who are not only transforming their health, but also building thriving businesses that can be passed on generationally. With our 30-day guarantee, it's a risk-free way to start your journey to better health and wealth. So why wait? Dive into Serona's next-level wellness solutions today. Visit the link below to get started. Serona, unlock your full potential. Remember, with Serona, you're not just investing in your health, you're investing in your legacy. Here's to living your best life.
And of course, we have the link in the description for folks. Looks like Scott stepped away for a moment, but that's a perfect opportunity for us to welcome. Oh, wait, is Matt there? It looks like Matt might have stepped away for a moment. So until they come back, I guess, Joe.
I'm back.
Oh, there he is. Perfect opportunity.
Nature calls. Yes.
To talk a little bit about Serona. I mean, I don't exaggerate when I say that the effect of the glutathione has been a total game changer for me. Why don't we just kind of go around the horn really quickly and just talk about your experiences with it? I love the Elixir product is by far my favorite. I really do like the Lucid as well. The Endo CBD and the Skin spray are my four top favorites. I talk about them pretty frequently. So what about you guys? What can you say about the Serona products, the effect they've had?
Well, last night I went to go see a gentleman named Stephen Wilson Jr. And, my brothers, I went with my brothers and they brought back a couple extra beers and they were tall. And this morning I woke up and I just wasn't feeling that great. And I took the glutathione, the Elixir, and it really helps with the headache. So it's incredible how much that helps. And the energy, you feel that from the NAD. And like you were saying, the skin spray has been amazing, especially not only for us, but our friend Chuck Swindle, who had some major issues with his arm ever since he was 16 and he tried everything. So yeah, it's amazing to be behind a product that is at the nano size level. And we all promote it, including Lewis. So whoever's seeing this, it doesn't matter whatever page you see this on. If you go and you see the link or our names, wherever you see fit. But yeah, it's been a great asset to our lives, and I'll turn it over to Scott.
All set, man.
Yeah, I've tried a lot of different products, and I mean, probably not as many as Joe, but many, and just haven't really felt it. It's sort of been a leap of faith. Look good on paper, but these products, my God. Joe and I were just in 3 countries, Morocco being one of them. I think, they're like #1 in food poisoning. Not to dissuade anyone from going to Morocco. Just
no, the food's great.
Bring some Elixir and some NAD with you because we had no issues.
Yeah.
And we were pretty experimental with, with the local cuisine. That's for sure. But, no, it's the fountain of youth. I mean, it really is. It's remarkable. Nanosizing, these different elements, whether it's glutathione, NAD, whatever it might be, you can take all kinds of things, but if you don't absorb them, your body can't utilize them, and you just have very expensive urine.
Right.
And good friend of ours runs an amazing health center, and they do IV treatments. And, I was seeing the benefits all these people were getting from all these IV treatments, glutathione being a really big one, NAD being another one. The problem is they're very expensive, and, you got a pretty short half-life. So you have to do this all the time. So if you're extraordinarily wealthy, that works out really well for you. If you're not, you're kind of shit out of luck. these products are a shortcut to that. Sublingually, you're absorbing this stuff, and you really do feel it. I haven't had so much as a sniffle since I discovered Sirona products, and you know, I burn the candle at both ends. You know, I don't get enough sleep. You know, I go hiking in the rain. Whatever it might be, I'm exposed to a lot of stuff, and whether it's my immune system, my energy level, whatever, I can't sing the praises of these products enough. Not just because, you know, it's a sponsor, but it wouldn't be a sponsor if it didn't have that impact. So hats off to Ethan, you know, remarkable fellow on many fronts, but this is the coup de grace.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, my audience knows that I don't sponsor anything that I don't personally use or personally am invested in. So I mean, like I said, I had my doubts. I tried it, and it was absolutely incredible. The sublingual, the absorption, it's incredible. So I don't want to belabor the point, but just to highlight for folks out there, because I haven't really talked about Sirona all that much, and I'm with a group of friends tonight where we're all on the same page. And we're proud to have Sirona be a sponsor of our show. So you can check out the link in the description of my video and the description of the Truth Stream video, wherever you're watching, like Joe said, and do yourself a favor and try these products, so you will not be disappointed. And speaking of mutual friends, let's bring on our good friend, Matt Geiger, who I actually just spoke to not too long ago.
He is there.
Hey, brother. The king, gold and silver, the only honest guy in the industry.
Good. For all of you.
Surprise. Yeah, this was a surprise. I didn't think that Matt was going to be joining us, and Joe is in touch with him, and I said, hey, I mean, if he's free and he can come on and chat with us for a little bit towards the end of the show. I know I actually spoke to you a little bit earlier, Matt. I know you're going out of town tomorrow, but it's great to see you.
Yeah, you too. I was actually sitting in the waiting room for like the last half hour. So
I apologize.
Joe's like, ready for you. I'm like, yeah, I'm here, bro.
Hey, I apologize. You know, we were kind of like wrapping it up.
Interesting stuff, man. You know, I'm totally seeing the same thing as you guys. You know, things are getting crazy out there. We've been getting a lot of interest from everybody's show, Lewis's show, your show, Patriot, your show, Truth Stream guys. You know, it's been amazing. I mean, I'm surprised I even have the free time. I mean, you should have seen me this week. It was like phone call. I've been up since 5 a.m., starting calls at 6, probably finishing up around 3 or 4 o'clock. No lunch breaks, just straight through. And I'm answering all my own calls. You know, it's not like I'm sending this off to some sales rep or whatever. You know, I'm talking to everybody directly, and everybody's so surprised. They think I'm important. They're like, Matt, is that you? I'm like, I'm just a gold dealer. Like, these are the celebrities, not me.
Well, no, I think that's what folks that's what they love about you, is the fact that you come on, you do these shows, and we have great conversations, and you make yourself accessible to them. I think most people, they pick up the phone and they expect they're going to get some sort of a call center or whatever. When they actually get Matt Geiger on the phone, they're like, oh wow, this is pretty cool. So it's great to see you, man. And honestly, we've been covering a lot of different topics tonight. I apologize for keeping you in the waiting. I didn't even know you were in the waiting room at first. I had to kind of scroll down on my, because the way the StreamYard works, I only see like the first 5 blocks until I like scroll down, and there you were. And I was like, oops. So I apologize for keeping you waiting, man.
You didn't see me because I initially came on with the Burger King crown, and I sat there for a couple minutes, and I was just waiting for you to I was just waiting for some squirm in the show. Just
it's not my style to keep you on ice for that long, believe me. So I mean, you heard us talking about a lot of things tonight while you were in the waiting room. Do you have anything that you any reaction to some of the things that you were hearing Lewis talk about, or myself, or Joe and Scott? We can kind of just keep the conversation rolling.
I mean, what you guys are let's talk about Lewis running for governor. I'm going to be out there. One person who left off the list was me. I'll be there on the 8th. I'll see both you and Scott, Joe, or Joe and Scott.
Scott Joe.
We're gonna have a booth there. We're gonna do something prior to the debate. Verity Metals sponsored, and then inside the actual debates, we're gonna have a booth in there. Shout out to Kim Yeater for really hooking us up and getting us good placement in there. Kim's terrific. But yeah, we're going to go down there, have a great time. We have an awesome Airbnb, so hopefully we'll have a cool after party. That's always these guys know my style. So I always awesome Airbnb, and then we do the after party at the Airbnb, and everybody comes by. We cook it up, Awesome. So if anybody's in the, any of the viewers out there that's coming by, you guys are more than welcome to come back to the house.
Yeah, and Matt, I told you before, if you get too busy, I'll start answering the phones for you, and it's looking like, hey, folks, you might get me on the phone.
We're getting to that. It's funny because we're getting to that point. Precious metal took a little bit of a dip. But what's crazy is the premiums to get the stuff have just gone right back up. Right. So it's like, okay, you could have, $53 silver go down to $49. All right. Well, they're going to charge you an extra $2-3 premium when that price drops. So it's almost like people are paying, it might be a little bit cheaper, but you're basically paying the same thing. In the US Mint, the wholesalers, they're getting a little bit greedy with what they want. So prices are moving up. It's not just the spot price, folks. It's also the premiums to get this stuff. And as I've said before, it's not the cost of gold or silver that's going to be prohibitive. Believe it or not, it's going to be your ability to get it. When the banking crisis starts and things are hitting the fan and everybody's trying, it's like a game of musical chairs. Everybody's trying to get their hands on this stuff. We're probably going to start seeing wait times. Hey, you can put in an order. We'll put the order in for you, but you might have a 2 to 4 week wait just to see if you're going to even get the stuff or not.
Wow.
Yeah, XRP is hitting a supply crisis as well. I mean, all the best investments are tapping out quick. So
quick, you got it.
Yeah.
I've never wanted to create some false sense of urgency. I've never been like anybody pushing, like you got to do this now. But the sense of urgency really is the supply, and that's what I see going on right now.
Yeah,
and that's a gold silver update.
Well, I was going to say, Matt, can you? Because some people may not know that they can move their IRAs over, so that might be good just for you to give a cliff note on that.
It's one of your guys' viewers today. We just finished up an IRA with, and the husband really thanked me because they had done a prior IRA with another company we won't name, one of those gold companies out of it. And he looked at my prices and he's just like, this is perfect. It was slightly higher than the cash price, maybe $1.50 more an ounce. And we can make our commissions that we need to make on that kind of money. We do it really skinny for people. They're thrilled. They're writing a beautiful review for us, husband and wife. They were super happy. Diana, I won't say her last name, but Diana out there, thank you. I forget her husband's name, but he's a military guy. And it's just nice to see people getting into the stuff where, these gold companies out there where they charge 100% premiums, 100%. They literally this gold broker will take your money, half your retirement money. And you think about how long it takes somebody to earn that and put that away and have to make good decisions in the market, whether they have a financial planner or they just do it themselves. And some gold broker is going to take that money. It's disgusting. And I think that's part of the reason I formed my company was because, this is the Patriot community, man. We got to look out for each other. We got to make sure people get a good job. Hey, we can all make money. You know what I mean? We're all making money. We're all doing fine, but we can give a great deal to people. They can support the show. And when you come to me, it's like you're supporting Truth Stream. You're supporting
Patriot.
yeah, I'm losing my train of thought. Underground Patriot. You're supporting, you're supporting Lewis. You're supporting Robert. You're supporting all these different guys. And it's like we just want to make a model where it's great for the client. It's great for the advertiser. It's great for the gold company. Everybody wins. And it's like it's like we're all Patriot family, and that to me, that's how I kind of want to run my business and run my life.
Amen, brother.
That's awesome. It
It's
really
true.
is.
I've seen it firsthand. It's kind of crazy, actually.
Well, and when Matt says what he brings to the table, it's usually a couple really good steaks as well. So Matt has good taste and he's good people, and that's why I was like, we got to have Matt on the show today because we just love having Matt on the show.
Well, thank you.
Matt stumbled because Patriot Underground is secretive about his real name.
We've all said for the last hour.
It's like Abba.
Well, I answer to all different things. Some people
Yes.
me,
Thank you, Steve. Phil.
Dave. Yeah, I got called Dave for a long time, Patrick for a long time. So whatever people call me, I just kind of go with it. I let it float out there. People.
Oh, you were Patrick for a long time. That's
Especially
true.
I still am Patrick.
Are you still Patrick?
Yeah, I still
That's
am.
the Boston thing, right?
Yeah, I mean, no, it's all good. It's all good. But no, it's great to see you, man, and I'm really happy that I've gotten some great. I mean, I've just been getting to know Matt over the past couple of months. I mean, my goodness, we've had so many people that have reached out. We've only done a couple of shows together, I think, right? Only two. And this would be the third time you were on, but so many people have already reached out to Matt, and he's given me such great feedback. Like people, and it goes back to what we were talking about a little bit earlier with just that rising level of discernment, where people know, they can sense. And I think that's key to the way that you do things, Matt. The fact that you make yourself out, you put yourself out there, and you introduce yourself to the audience. People get a chance to know you, get a sense for whether or not they're resonating with you, and that makes all the difference for folks out there. And it's like they can tell that you're a stand-up guy, and you're going to give people. Sure, you're going to make money. You're in a business to make money, but you're not in a business to rip people off. And folks really, really appreciate that, and they can sense it in you. So I think that's part of the reason for such all the success that you've had and will continue to have, I'm sure. So.
Well, and I met through Lewis, and Lewis is like, look, when I introduce you guys to somebody, believe me, I vetted them because he knows what many of us have been through, and it's just like to meet people through Lewis Herms. Amazing. He's been such a mentor. I've always tried to surround myself with people that know more than me or that have more wisdom or whatever, because I love learning, and Lewis is just one of those guys. So it's been amazing to meet Matt through Lewis. So
isn't it amazing?
We're of one mind, Joe. I was about to say, I mean, Lewis came to us and he's like, you got to meet this guy, Matt. He's amazing. He just bought us a motorhome, and we were there when they took delivery of the motorhome, I think, on the Truth Tour. What's that?
Bruce Poppy, yeah.
Poppy, yeah, oh yeah.
I'll tell you that.
I mean, it was amazing. It was amazing. We had a gold sponsor for like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And they had a great pitch and everything sounded great. We're going to make a lot of money. And the comment section was just like, yeah, they ripped me off. I mean, there were so many horror stories, and we're like, we're a truth channel. Like we can't deviate from the truth. This is all about ethics. And so we were delighted to meet Matt because he's totally in line with our ethics, and we don't support things that don't support what we represent. So thanks, Matt, for being that guy.
Thank you.
So let me get a sense from you, Matt, because we've been we've been on for about 2 hours. You're probably going to want to wrap it down relatively soon, but what's kind of on your radar right now, just in terms of since the last time we talked? I mean, you and I went through a whole bunch of different issues. More and more every day, we're seeing, as I've been saying pretty much all night, rapid acceleration on multiple different fronts. So I'm just kind of curious, over the past several days, what's kind of caught your attention?
Well, the silver riggers are trying to keep the price suppressed. They're not going to be able to. It's impossible. So you could see silver drop down to $20. You might see that. I mean, do I think it's going to happen? Probably not, but you could. And really what they're trying to do is they're trying to get the weak hands out of the market. They want to get they're going to try to slam the price of gold and silver using their paper ounces to slam the price of gold and silver so that people panic and they sell off their gold and silver. And then a couple days later, the stuff doubles in price from where it was. Just remember, if they slam the price of silver, let's say, down to $20 tomorrow, okay, dealers are just going to charge whatever the difference is, whatever the price is now. They're just going to charge the difference in premium. What are we going to do? Sell at a loss, knowing that it's paper market manipulation? No way. No way. So I just tell people, like, even if you did business with another company years ago, I have a lot of people coming to me saying, Matt, can you redo my gold and silver? I don't like what these gold companies put me in. They put me in these random gold and silver coins. I just generally tell them, and I could generate a commission doing it. I just generally tell them, just leave it alone. Just leave it alone. Just ride it. Any new purchases you do will set you on the right trajectory with the right product choices, etc. But the bottom line is that you're going to see some very strange things in gold and silver pricing. But the riggers are running out of steam. They don't have the ability to suppress like they used to. So I would expect probably by the end of the year, you're going to see some major major price increases in gold and silver. And at that point, that's what I was talking about before. It's not going to just be the price that's really prohibitive. It's going to be your ability to get it. I mean, think about it like this. You have, I have friends that are multi-millionaires. They've made fantastic wealth. I have friends worth hundreds of millions of dollars. These guys are sitting on massive stock portfolios, right? Let's say you have a $50 million stock portfolio. You're making, let's say, conservatively speaking, 10% a year. Just for waking up in the morning, those guys are making $5 million. Gold and silver ain't going to do that for them, right? So they really have to see something very strong, very obvious, very apparent for them to be like, oh, I need to move this brokerage account of $50 million, move it into precious metals to protect myself. At a certain point, they're going to start to see this stuff. And there's a lot of those millionaires out there, $10 million portfolios, $20, $50, $100 million portfolios and more. What happens when all those guys and gals realize that something's wrong in the system and they're moving toward precious metals? What happens in supply? It absolutely disappears. So it's almost like you have to be preemptive and get ahead of the big money. That's what you're really trying to do right now. And hey, even if you're a client of mine from a couple of years ago, you're ahead of the curve. Look at what your gold and silver has done over the last couple of years. You've done fantastic, right? Even if you have to wait even if you did it today and you had to wait another year or two for the stuff to really take off, it's worth it because you got your hands on the supply. So I think it's kind of the phrase I used before. It's a game of musical chairs. Get into your chair. The music has already stopped. Find your chair and sit down, relax, and enjoy the show.
Well said.
Beautiful. Well said. All right, gentlemen, why don't we go around the horn and maybe just offer some final thoughts as we kind of wrap things up. And in anticipation of the next one, you guys are going to be hosting me next time. We'll put that together. We get off there hopefully maybe sometime in November. But Joe, give us some final thoughts, man. It was a really interesting. I love the fact that Matt came in towards the end here. Lewis just hit it out of the park. So give us your thoughts on this conversation, where you think we're headed in the short term, and then we'll go to Scott and work our way around.
Well, it's amazing to be back and just appreciate life in America. I loved traveling, and Spain is absolutely incredible. But I think right now, I'm just happy to be back and having conversations like this and around friends and family, because things are getting a little bit crazy. And I don't know. It just makes me appreciative when I do travel of what I do have. And, there's not a lot of people in the Northwest that Scott and I necessarily have talked to, but because Matt came out to our first in-person event at the end of March, now we're starting to do more in-person events, and we're doing one on Thursday, October 30th in the Tacoma area. And if you want to find out where that is, if you're really interested, it would be in our Telegram and our locals, just because we're probably not going to advertise the location too publicly for that. But I'm just in a really good place. I saw an amazing musician last night. He was so good. Scott and I are going to see him again tonight. His name's Stephen Wilson Jr. And Scott has introduced me to some great music, and I'm honored to be playing the event for Lewis. It's cool to be dipping my toes into performing again. And I don't know, I'm in a really, really positive, healthy space, and I'm surrounded by you guys and a great audience. And so I don't know, I think things overall are very positive. We're going to see some crazy stuff, but I try to focus on good things. My dad introduced me to a band when I was younger called the Beach Boys, and they have a song called Good Vibrations. And I'm just trying to, like Michael Jaco says, be in the love vibration. So that's where I'm coming from, and just wishing nothing but positivity and good vibrations to people. So
well said. Well said. All right, Scotty.
Yeah, you gotta love a guy that saw the combat Jaco did, and now he's making a Love Bowl sing. That's pretty cool. I've always loved that about him. Coming back from the trip we were on, getting a kind of a global view of things, it really put things into perspective. But I said earlier, and the chat kind of was like, what? How are we in good times? Trust me, we're in great times. you have nothing but positivity ahead. It's going to get a little bumpy, but it's these challenges that really get us to confront things that otherwise we don't. That's where you find your character. Well, I don't remember who it was that said it was a Voltaire. No, it wasn't Voltaire. When you look into the abyss, that's when you find your character. And until you find your character, you don't know who you are. So right now, you're getting to know yourself in a way that's really meaningful. And I think that's brilliant. We talked about Sirona. That's been a huge force in health and an inspiration to me. Matt Geiger being the only honest guy I've found in something I believe in wholeheartedly, which is sound money. We talk about the price of gold going up and down. Price of gold has been the same from the beginning. It's the fiat currency that goes up and down. So, hedge your bets, go with something solid. Go with God. Life is good. Get positive. Don't get wrapped up in the minutia. Don't get wrapped up in, the he said, she said stuff. We are so close to defeating the cabal. And that is the biggest event in human history. You're alive for it. You're right here, front row seats. So congratulations. And Matt, what are your thoughts?
Well, thank you for the kind words, Scott. I agree. Just go out, enjoy life, get yourself protected, whatever, right? Make sure you got the gold and silver, storables, maybe some of the cryptos, right? Take care of all that stuff, but don't forget to have fun and, don't let the stuff get at you. I think there's great people that are in control right now that, I sometimes I'll sit back on these episodes and maybe we should give a shout out to all the fallen Q soldiers that have gotten us here, that we've never seen or we've never heard of, that got us to this point. Some guy in 1970 who gave his life to push this movement forward that we'll never see or hear of. Those are the people I think about regularly. And I might not know their names or their faces, but they're in my spirit and they're in my heart.
Well said.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We do. We stand on the shoulders of giants, and many of them we know, many of them we'll never know. But all of us are serving something much bigger than ourselves, and that's something that I have to continually remind myself. I often go back to one of my conversations with the great Lieutenant Colonel Bosey, good friend of mine. And he's actually coming back on the show pretty soon. It's been a little while since I've had him on, but I remember during the course of one of our conversations, I said, that I'd never served in the military. And he kind of looked at me and he goes, well, you've been serving for the past few years. And he went on to describe this whole thing about, how the military civilian alliance and how we're really kind of functioning as irregulars, as it were, in this alliance. And that was kind of like mind blowing. And that clip actually still gets circulated. Somebody clipped it and I still see it out there quite a bit. And I say that because it's humbling, really. When I started my journey, I never imagined that it was going to lead to the incredible people that I've met along the way, the incredible bonds that I've had with my audience, but more importantly, to a sense of purpose. Like my life, and I think that we talked about this last time, Joe and Scott, is just finding that sense of purpose. And that's really what this whole journey has been about for me. I was always searching for it and I could never find it. And who knew that I was going to get into my early 40s and all of a sudden out of nowhere, God was going to take this like horrific, horrible depression that I was in after the election and not really understanding which direction I was going, what direction the country was going, and turn it into something so amazing that's introduced me to so many incredible people along the way, new friends like Matt. And actually, it's kind of interesting. I was just thinking to myself, of all the people that I know that Joe and Scott, we go back a pretty long way, even before I had my camera on. I mean, at that point in time, that was like, I think of all the people that I still work with, you guys are like my oldest connection. And Matt is my newest, which is kind of cool. So it kind of like it feels like it's it's like a full circle sort of a thing, and it's just incredible to be in this position to have these types of discussions. And isn't it amazing that we can go into it just with some basic introductory kind of setting the table
Right.
topics, but then it just goes off in a million different directions, and people feel so connected and they resonate with the authenticity of the free flowing discussion and sharing of ideas. It always hits me, especially when I work with you guys, because I mean that's the way we approach it. I mean, we've never had a conversation ahead of time of like, well, what are the topics we're going to get into, and how are we going to structure the show? And I mean,
Right.
you guys work with a lot of different people. I work with a lot of different people. But the connection that we have is really special to me. So I just wanted to thank you guys, and certainly Matt as well. It's been an honor to get to know you. It's been quite an honor to get to know Louis Herms as well. Again, just an incredible guy. So I'm so grateful for this conversation. And just to echo your sentiment for everybody out there, we are living in historical, unprecedented times. We're approaching moments of our lives that not only are we going to remember and celebrate forever, but the entire world is going to remember and look back on these times and just marvel at what humanity was able to navigate in this fifth generational, completely unprecedented war that we're in right now. How people, ordinary folks, just came together and decided to put their voice out there. And it just has this exponential effect where more and more people are getting involved, more and more people are asking questions. It's just a beautiful thing. And I happen to believe that we are very rapidly approaching some pretty climactic moments. I'm not going to put myself out there and make any predictions, but I will say, and we didn't talk about this tonight, I don't know if you guys were aware of this, but Trump had that little model of the arch on his desk.
Yes. Yes.
Right? And we all know what an arch represents. An arch represents victory. And we also have the 250th anniversary of the Republic coming up next summer. And the way that things are shaping up right now, to me, it seems like we're getting very, very close to the climax. And I hope and pray that I'm right. I've been wrong before. I'm willing to admit that. That is why I generally don't make these types of predictions. It's not a prediction, but it's just kind of a gut feeling. So many things are escalating. The tension, you can feel it. It's like it's getting ready to boil over on multiple different fronts. Israel's in the spotlight, the country that's being saved for last. We've got the military being deployed all over the country. We've got big name indictments coming down with more to come. I mean, all the signs are there. And of course, as Matt laid out, the financial aspect as well, everything seems to be coming to a head all at the same time. So I am super optimistic. Like Joe said, I'm in a really great place. I feel honored to be in this position. And I just wanted to say thank you guys. Thank you to everybody out there who took the time to tune in. Just an incredible audience. I'm blown away every single time. I could probably podcast for the rest of my life. Maybe I will. I don't know. I could never, ever take for granted, and never for 1 second have I taken for granted how much this audience means to me and how much the people that I've connected with along the way mean to me as well. So you guys are amazing. Thank you so much. And Joe and Scott, we will chat about putting another one on the books. And certainly, Matt, you and I will be in touch. I hope you have a great trip. And we'll get you back on in the next couple of weeks. But until then, folks, make sure you check out the links in the description for Sirona and also for Verity Metals, whether you're on Truth Stream's channel, whether you're on my channel, doesn't really matter. Do yourself a favor and get yourself some amazing products for your health. And as far as the financial aspect of things, Matt Geiger is the one guy out of everybody out there who you really want to talk to. So give him a call. You see this number right there on the screen. You can also check out his website, linked in the description. So thank you, everybody out there, so much for listening. Until the next time, God bless. Godspeed, everybody. Patriot.
Take care.